What's up, y'all? I respect you so much that I had started this video and I shot a piece of food out of my mouth and I was like, normally I would keep that, but I'm not even going to do y'all like that. You don't have to get that. It's just fine. It still tried to come out. You see, like, something about it just wants to be in the thing. I wanted to hop on here right now and I just wanted to, I wanted to name a thing that is rare. And to name it because it's so distinct from my normal experience. And I think that there is a benefit if we could all touch into this or touch into where it is lacking so that we can move our lives in a way that, that gets us what we need. So, for those of you who don't know, New Zealand is in a lockdown, the Delta variant. In order to really understand this, first you have to understand that New Zealand had contained COVID outside of people who are in managed isolation quarantine facilities. When they arrive, I had to stay in one of those when I first got back. It's certainly not, I didn't have a good time, but I was grateful for it and grateful for the way in which it allowed me to protect people from this disease. And so New Zealand had contained COVID. We had no cases. People were out in the world living, going to events, having weddings, going to funerals, having events, throwing concerts. I went to go see The Lion King with like 2,000 other people. With no fear. And it was really beautiful to be in a place of no fear. And then last Tuesday, someone tested positive for COVID in the community. And New Zealand immediately went into what is a level 4 lockdown. We have a 3-tiered lockdown system. Level 1 is, sign in, scan, let people know where there's a scanning system, an app so that you can scan into places so the contact tracing is easy. So do that. But that's it. Level 2 is like no events over 50, I think. Level 3 is no events over 10. And level 4 is nothing. Essential services only. Grocery stores, doctors, hospitals. Those sorts of things, and shelter in place, stay at home orders. So that is the level 4 lockdown. So as soon as this one man came back with a positive test, I think he came back with a positive test that morning. By midnight, we were in a level 4 lockdown. Everybody stay home, don't do shit. And, they were like, it's more than likely the Delta variant, because that's what everybody has. It's highly contagious, and we would rather be overly cautious than underprepared. And so that was, less than a week ago. Today we have 51 cases confirmed in the country. And of course people are still coming back, and the range is getting wider and all of these other things. But there are a couple of things operating in this that really moved me. The first being that, every day at 1:00, my prime minister, and I'm feeling very territorial right now, like very in my ownership, my prime minister, Jacinda Ardern, gets on television with the Ministry of Health and gives an update of where we are with cases, where we are with locations of interest, where we are with testing, where we are with vaccinations. And this happens every day at 1:00. Every day at 1:00, the entire country is informed about the state of this virus in their lives. Then, and then I was listening to her answer questions about, the protocol and procedures and what was happening, and she was talking about the ways in which, they're just being overly cautious. They are, treating contacts as much more broad than they would have in the previous iteration because Delta is so contagious. The level of science, every single positive test gets genome sequenced so that you can pinpoint the strain of COVID that is currently circulating so that you can match it with the clusters happening. They were so able to pinpoint so specifically that they were able to determine that they know that it was one person who came on a particular flight. They know the flight. They know when that person entered MIQ. They know when he came back positive and moved to another place. They are discovering where the break in the chain was that allowed it to get out. But they have researched so thoroughly that there was another MIQ case where a family had COVID or not a family, someone in a family had COVID. They were all together. The other people didn't. 2 days before they were to leave MIQ, they got another test and the test came back positive. They tested it and was like, this is not the same COVID that this person who you are in a pod with has. This is a different COVID. So then they screened it against all the other positive tests in the center, found that the match was a person across the hall, used CCTV to realize that there was a point in a day where both of those people opened their doors at the same time for 3 to 5 seconds. And that is how that family got that strain of COVID that they did not have. And that is how wildly intense Delta is. Delta variant is so intense that if you open a door at the same time another person opens a door for 5 seconds, you can become infected. The fact that I live someplace where the government takes that level of care, that level of intentionality, that level of focus, that level of resource to care for its citizens almost brings me to tears. I have never felt cared for by a government ever in my life. I have never felt cared for by a government ever in my life. And there are a million things that, New Zealand government does not get right. But when I say that it is clear to me in this moment right now that they care whether I live or die, is so impactful and so foreign. And the reason I want people to think about this, the reason I'm sharing this is because we all deserve this. Every single human being on this planet deserves to have leadership that cares about whether they live or die, that cares at the basic about their well-being. That is the baseline. That should be the baseline of our systems. And if you are in some place where that is not what the government does, then I invite you to overthrow the government. I invite you to get as bold as some people in January of 2021 who felt like their government no longer cared for them because their government had been so hyper-focused on white supremacist delusion and catering to it for over 300 years, that feeling like it was shifting made them stop feeling cared for. And guess what they did? They stormed the goddamn Capitol. I invite you to summon the entitlement of a white man when it relates to your government. I invite you to summon the entitlement of a straight cisgendered white man and expect that they care for you. And if they do not, raise all manner of unapologetic hell. In the collective, organize, protest, make their lives uncomfortable. If they're not willing to show up with that kind of care, because we all deserve systems and structures that reflect that. And if that is not what is happening, then we are being failed. I want to thank Aotearoa's government right now for the care in which they are taking with the lives of their citizens. I am grateful to this country for allowing me to be a permanent resident here, to call this place home. I'm grateful. And, I hope that we all demand better, that we demand the care that we deserve, because we deserve it. All right.